Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gentleman's Journal's first ever podcast, Iron Sharpens Iron. I am your host, Bryan Lobos, and I'm excited to be here. In a few short minutes, you're going to hear from some of our three wonderful, three of the best in our organization. And before we get with them, you're probably wondering, what is GJ? What is this thing I keep hearing about Gentleman's Journal? Well, you know what? It's a community organization bringing out the best in the men in our local communities. How to be better fathers, better husbands, better uncles, better everything. How to be good leaders and stewards in our communities, professionals, entrepreneurs, very good success stories. So without further ado, please grab your favorite cigar and your drink, and let's get started. All right, guys, we're here. First ever podcast. Exciting, right?
Yeah.
You excited? Everyone here? So before we get with some quick intros, actually, let's do some quick intros. 30 seconds. Let everybody know what you do, who you work for, and how long you've been with Gentleman's Journal.
Okay.
Gabe, we'll start with you.
My name is Gabriel. I am a dad of two. I've dedicated my life to older adults for the past 23 years. And it's been nothing but a pleasure to be able to come to a new city and be able to be embraced by the community. I love this city, man. It's a giving city, and
It's the best city in the world.
I love it, man. And I think it's my favorite for sure.
Awesome. Will.
Will Dukes. I am the founder of Feck and Fig. We grow law firms, and I do that with my wife, Shannon. Been married for 22 years, have two beautiful kids. My son, Eli, 13, my daughter, Lily, 11. I actually live up in Orlando.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, so I lived in Miami for like 13 years, and was probably the first GJ brother to venture out beyond Miami-Dade and still make GJ, but now we've got guys in Georgia, we got guys in North Carolina. Now we even have a guy all the way out in California that's still making trips back to Miami.
And we'll get into a lot of what's going on with GJ. And you probably got here faster than me, and I was in Brickell like 5 blocks away. So
because I just walked from the Brightline station. So yeah.
George, go ahead.
Thank you. Jorge Camacho. So my partner and I, George Milian, actually started Rely on Solar, and ironically, we met each other through Gentleman's Journal. Okay. That was part of, once a year we'd kind of do this retreat. He and I just randomly kind of met up there, and we've created not only a wonderful relationship and friendship, but we've been able.
Bond, because we see you guys, and we're like, man.
Listen, man, it's
Ernie almost kind of.
Hey, listen, let's just make sure that you got me as Ernie.
I'm not telling.
So
That means.
Bert's got a stick up his ass, man. Come on.
Hey.
And other things. So really what the privilege of something like Gentleman's Journal has been, and I've been a part of this for about 6 years, is that, I get to mastermind with other brilliant, amazing men, all wizards at their own special industry. If I have a marketing question, I'm always going to Mr. Dukes. If I want to, work out something that I'm dealing with, maybe some family issues, whatever, I'm going to call Gabe, and I have a whole list of brothers that I can go to.
Willing to step up and, hey,
in a heartbeat.
Put me in, coach.
Absolutely. So George and I do Rely on Solar. We're off-the-roof solar specialists, and we specialize in making sure that you have backup battery power.
Very important.
Absolutely.
So I want to touch point with Gabe. As you see, one of the original founders of GJ, right? Gentleman's Journal. You see it over the years, and what it is today, we're doing a podcast, the first ever podcast, hopefully of many. And if there's not many, you know where it went. But at least for many, what is the testament of GJ and the brotherhood that's here? What can you say to that?
And what I could say is that it was all organic. We started with the one in Miami, and I think Brett Tremblay said it best. He said, we need to share this. This is a message that needs to get out there. And that's what has allowed us to find men with the same common sensibilities that, family and their business and their community is what is their fabric to what their makeup is. Mm-hmm. The fact that we can launch a podcast now and discuss it and bring it out to the masses is just part of the evolution.
Right.
So it's beautiful.
It was always something that I think it was in everybody's mind. Like, hey, when are we going to do this?
Yeah, we thought about it.
I remember talking to Chris like 4 years ago.
We kicked this around for years.
Yeah,
we kicked this around for years. But like everything, and I'm glad you brought up Chris. He'll be the first to tell you ideas are shit.
Yeah, he'll be the first to tell you a lot of things.
Execution is everything. So props to everybody that was part of this execution and to everybody that's here sharing.
Yeah, awesome. And I know you guys can't see it, but we have some of our brothers here, which is not traditional on some podcasts having an audience. we have an audience, so you know what? Give a good shout out. Let's go. You know who you are. Who got here, so appreciate that. I was at an event a couple of months ago talking about Miami, the real estate market, and we're not going to talk about real estate or anything like that here today. But one of the topics that really come out when I was really caught my eye and listening to it as well is Miami has changed over the course of the last 10 years. Completely different place, what it is today and the future, right? So it got me thinking as we were preparing for this podcast, it's kind of like that life scenario. You know, you came down in 2003, right? With your family, you made that big decision. We'd love to hear about that. Will, you're going back to Orlando, and you have some stories as well. So before we get to you, I want to hear, Gabe, what has it been like since you've been moved down here to 2003? And what ultimately led to that decision? And are you happy here?
I'm very happy here.
There you go.
I'll start with that. What led to the decision was a family business, you know. My sister basically saying, look, we come from a big family. I see what you do. I started this organization called Home Instead here in Miami. We take care of older adults. And the first thing out of my mouth was, I don't want to work with old people. I'm surrounded by old people. You know, my mom and dad are old. You know, I'm the Medicare guy. I'm the one who had the ability to take people to their appointments because of the flexibility that I had with my own business back in Jersey. So it wasn't until I met a lot of the owners. Mm-hmm. They were husband and wives, brother, sister, and got to the core of the service above self mentality and the model of the business, which is a beautiful thing. You're helping people and you get to make money.
No. And even that, you're doing a lot to the community too, because you also do the whole drive with the Santa.
Yeah, that started 20 years ago. Yeah, last year was our 20th anniversary, and that's what I keep saying about this community. This is a very giving community.
It is.
We have a certain stigma, you know, the Miami superficial, you know, the Lamborghinis, the Deco Drive. Yeah, that exists.
That's here.
But the truth is, we don't know what happens behind closed doors. And I'm a testament to the fact that this is a very giving community. And a lot of the men in this room have been able to give back towards that beautiful event that you mentioned, which is being able to recognize older adults in some pretty not so nice living conditions. And during the holidays, they're lonely. So we're able to give back to them and just recognize that they are remembered and that they matter.
And they do matter, right? They're some of the most important people in our lives. And when they go, you know, there's a void there, right? Mm-hmm. And it's creating those memories. And what you do in your company, it is amazing.
Thank you,
brother.
No,
definitely. I want to pivot to Will. Here in Miami, did a lot of good things. I remember you from another organization that you were very involved in. And now you're going back to Orlando. So how has that been? By the way, 7th generation in Florida. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was kind of wild that I ended up in Miami in the first place, right? Because I grew up in the north part of the state, just an hour south of the Georgia line. Family's been there since 1863, and but coming out of college at UF, go Gators, John Ridley, where are you at? So. Yeah, we're still in the minority down here. But nonetheless, came and I was a teacher in the public school system. So I taught for a little over 6 years, moved down here in 2004. And so right on the heels of Gabe. But then went to the private sector and started my business here. And that was in all those other organizations like you were saying. But it was actually a little over 8 years ago. My wife had an opportunity in her job before she obviously came on with me to take on a higher position and move us up to Orlando. And there's a kind of a crazy story behind that. But
what's the crazy story behind that?
So she was working in this position. It was a medical sales position, and her VP, she was doing really well down here, and said, "Hey, we have a couple of other areas opening up throughout the state.
Right?
You pick one, and you can have whatever one you want." And so she came and she asked me, like, or how far away would you go, right? And like one was Gainesville, which was pretty close to where I grew up, but I'd built my business down here,
right?
And my whole network and everything was down here. And so I said, you know what, like the farthest I could see us going would be like Orlando, because I could still make it a day trip. And the Bright Line was supposed to be finished in 2017.
Just got finished last week.
Yeah, like. Yeah, nuts. But, kind of like that works. But really the secret why I picked Orlando was the lady whose position she took in Miami, she had moved to Orlando.
Okay.
And she left because she said she couldn't find a good man in Miami. And I'm sitting here thinking like, that kind of goes both ways, right? Like, she's going to go up to Orlando and probably have some struggles too. And sure enough, 2 weeks after I told my wife, if Orlando ever opened up, maybe I'd be open to that. That lady called her and told her that she got engaged and was taking a job with the VA, and her position came open in Orlando.
There you go, man.
So
The signs.
she met a guy in Orlando. Imagine that.
That's right. It wasn't the Lamborghini guy, Too many Lamborghini guys out
So that's what took us up to Orlando, and I started. It was actually really good because it forced me to kind of get into video conferencing even before this, because this was, like I say, 2017.
Right.
And so by the time freaking COVID hit, I was well into it. I was like leading the Chambers of Commerce and like, all right, this is how you use Zoom, and this is how you click this button and come off
pioneer
mute
of Zoom
and all that stuff. Yeah, I was using Zoom before Zoom was cool, before Zoom went public, all that kind of stuff, before anybody knew about it.
All right, awesome. Well, that's a very good story. And obviously, the fact that you still make the trip down here to be with us says a lot. Then how you believe in the organization as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's from the very beginning, because like I said, we can be in a lot of different organizations. I've been in other like networking groups for business referrals, chambers of commerce. I was the chairman of Leadership Miami with the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce at some point, and all those things have their place, and they're
It's a lot
really
of pins,
good.
man. There's a lot of pins.
But ultimately, what it comes down to, this organization is that it's not business first.
Right.
Like, there's always that brotherhood of business kind of foundation to it. But we come here to support each other, and really kind of have this place where you can just kind of take your armor off and talk with other people that are going through the same kinds of things and experiences. And it's that relationship that is primary, and business might come out of that, but all of those other things are secondary. And so that kind of relationship and having a core group of guys that you can rely on just for that kind of support has meant a lot. And that first year I was coming down like once a week or so, and then slowly transitioned. But at the end of the day, it ended up being
right? It's worth it.
It was the GJ meeting that was the core
growth and everything. Yeah,
that was the foundation that I scheduled my month around. Is like the last weekend of the month I'm going to be in Miami.
All right, and George.
Cheers to the good man of Orlando.
To Orlando, yes.
GJ's coming to a city near you.
Look at that.
Celebration.
George. Now, you also have a very interesting story, right? You started off in the public school system, right? Which you are the 18-time teacher. I don't know. You and Ric Flair have like a kind of like a battle going on. How many championships? So tell me about that. Those type of accolades, because that speaks a lot to the students, to the faculty, saying, "Hey, this is a good dude."
Yeah. So much to what Will spoke into. The first portion of my career, for about 25 years, I was teaching. The first 6, I was in a public school. About the last 17, 18, I was in independent schooling.
What schools here in what's the name of you?
Well, down here in South Florida, I started off on the Ridge, South Ridge. Then became a Ram at Coral Park. I opened up Felix Varela, and then for about 18 years, I was at Ransom Everglades in Coconut Grove.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So, one of the blessings of that is that I got to really see students, and I'm going to say students, but really it's people from across the entire spectrum.
Oh, absolutely.
And invariably, the content of their lives might change, like the details and like what, some of the struggles that they're dealing with. Right.
Life happens.
Right. The content was different, but the context was always the same. At the end of the day, I still would have students that were struggling with, what was their contribution going to be. I had students that were dealing with, am I enough? Do I fit? Where do I belong? Right? And that's, I think, common to the human condition. And one of the things that makes something like Gentleman's Journal great and this organization great is, I believe Will said it, we can take our armor off.
Yep. Just be real. Be vulnerable.
We can take our armor off and be that authentic self, And that doesn't necessarily start off on day one, but it's something that we strive to. And as we have more of that real engagement, then suddenly, we can start to see the commonality between each other.
And George, when you say that, again, over the course of several years, what would you say was one of the biggest impacts you had when you were in that role? Whether it had been a faculty member, a student that came to you? What was one of the biggest impacts you had?
I mean, I think that it was over and over just getting back down to that central core of, like, yes, you can, si se puede, right? Whether it was si se puede, right? Whether it's that student that they're the first one that's going to graduate high school in their family. They're the first one in the United States that maybe came under, dreamers, or some other way, but here they are, and now they're the first ones that have the opportunity to go to college. Or, when I moved to independent schooling and these kids were all brilliant and geniuses and had all the privilege in the world, right? Resources. I mean, again, it's one of those blessings to them, right? It was their ability to how do I measure up? My mom does this, my dad does this, am I enough? So it's constantly just being that support network to just be real with them and say, si se puede, yes, you can, you have the ability to do so. Let's focus on what you can do.
And you say something there important because you know what they see with the students. A lot of times see you as that soundboard, right? Where they're like, "Hey, I want your opinion. Just listen to me."
Right.
Because sometimes they don't get it at home because it's the clash of the parents, right? I think
right, or what the parents want them to do.
Exactly, and especially as you go up in those resources, there's a lot even additional pressure added on there. I would say, what would you say that GJ? How did that help you to be in GJ? Like those stories, those life lessons you learned in your career there. To be in GJ, and what are you giving to the guys as far as?
Great question. I think for me, as I look around, just even some of the gentlemen we have here, some of the the many that I've met, it's the same thing. When we look at so many of the gentlemen here, we all come from varied backgrounds.
Yep.
Some of us we're privileged to have that silver spoon in our mouth, right? Others have worked for everything that we've earned, coming from some really tough circumstances.
That's right.
And, and this is something to Gabe's point, about the heart and soul of Miami. When you think of a 305 gentleman, right? A Miami gentleman.
305 gentleman.
Right? 305 gentleman, right? Yeah. We're not having a conversation around vulnerability. We're not having a conversation around being a support for one another, championing one another. The conversation is a lot more of, oh yeah, and everything else. So the fact that we can all come together, let that armor down, and then just get real. That's what the juice is. And that's what, in all my years of teaching, that was always the bottom line. Can we get to the juice?
But what is Gentleman's Journal, right? Gentleman's Journal is a community group of the best entrepreneurs, professionals in our marketplace, being exactly what we want to be, right? Being better fathers, being better leaders, being better husbands. And one of our core tenets is family first, business second, honor above profit, and be your brother's keeper. And now as we segue to the guys, one of the things that we hear a lot is honor above profit. And that has a lot of heavy weight to it, really. It's not just something we just say, honor above profit. No, we really mean it. And I think every guy in GJ has that integrity about honor above profit. So start off with you, Will. When you hear that, when you hear the words honor above profit, what does that mean to you and your business? And how has GJ sharpened you in that regard?
Yeah, so that was actually one of the core tenets that stood out to me the most in the very beginning, because Miami has that kind of reputation all the way 100 years old, being a sunny place for shady people. And
so you hear that, yeah.
And it's definitely out there, but I've long said that it doesn't really matter where you are. You can always find a core group of people that are going to kind of fall in line with the same kind of values that you have.
Exactly.
And for me, there's like this story of the bee that leaves the hive. And every day the bee goes out to make honey, right? To collect nectar and stuff. It has no idea that the actual value that it gives to the whole ecosystem is that it's pollinating the flowers.
Right.
It's much more valuable to everything else around it.
You're calling us bees?
Well, it's not, we're not honeybees, but we are money bees, right? Because every one of us leave the house every day to go out and make money. And some of us go out and do that, and we are actually generating value. There are others that will go out and basically create a bunch of shit in the pursuit of that money. And so we have the choice, right? And there was an architect back in 70 years ago, Buckminster Fuller. And he said that we, being conscious, have that choice to go out and actually put our focus on creating value, on doing good by our efforts.
Right.
And naturally, through those same kind of processes, the money will come. And so that's been something that's always been at the core of how I've pursued
Yeah, doing the right
business.
things, right?
Just focus on adding value, creating value, doing the good things, and like everything has its way of coming around. And if we do that, then we just stay away from all the negative stuff. And honor above profit just resonated with that from the beginning.
I like the way you put that. And George, I'll get to you now. When you go to our different groups, right, whether it be in Pinecrest, Miami, all over the place, you find there's definitely that common ground, right? Like, no, people are there that are serious about business. They're partnerships that, your case as well. So kind of talk to us about that, right? That honorable profit, but how has blessed you in your business and your new ventures as well.
Well, I mean, I think, Will put it beautifully, this idea of how do you go out into your community? How do we go out into our communities and put in more value than what we take out?
Right.
Right. And when we talk about this idea of honor above profit, that's what we're trying to do. I install solar panels and backup battery systems for homes. The minute you say solar panels, a lot of people are going to roll their eyes.
Really?
Yeah, especially down here because of so much of the, to your point, shady stuff that happens.
Bad business practice.
Right. And at the end of the day, what we're literally trying to do is go out. How can we support you and your family and create something that is going to help you not only save money, but in case of storm, you're still got the power on. And when I look at so many of the gentlemen that we associate with, when everyone's playing from that same space, it doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter where you came from. We're all going in the same direction.
Right.
And we're all going to that same place of how can I put back into my community more than what I took out. That's, to me, what honor above profit is above all else.
Appreciate it. And thank you so much. And talk about your partner, Onelio, right? How does he come into the mix?
So, ironically enough, Onelio and I met on a Gentleman's Journal retreat about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Randomly assigned. We just kind of started hanging out. And immediately there was a story that he told me that kind of resonated where he had a longtime business partner, someone that he worked with, one of his distributors. Yeah. And he would, on the side, help him, with what he was doing at the time. And there came a point where I guess this individual had an issue. His network, he used to do computer networks.
Yeah, he was in IT.
Right, IT. And so it all fell apart. And he came after Onelli. He came after my partner saying, hey, you helped me with this, and now everything's falling apart. And I remember hearing the story, and I go, wait a second. He didn't pay you. You were doing this out of the goodness of your heart. Yeah. And then he comes after you saying that, his systems are down because of you.
Right.
And I remember Nelly telling me the story of it took him about a good 30, 40 hours of his time to fix all the situation. But I said, why do all of that? And he goes, because at the end of the day, this is someone that I'm going to be in relationship with, and I'd rather have good relationships.
That's key.
And that's, to me, when, I'm like, that's what's critical. This is what's important. That the gentlemen in this group, the people that I know, my customers, clients, I want to make sure that it's not today, but tomorrow and 10 years from now, they still have that same positive experience.
It's really good. And you can see that. I know, he's part of my group. Shout out Hialeah Miami Lakes in the house. 2 people, that's okay.
They're a little chapter.
But great individual. Gabe, I'll get to you. And before we go to Gabe, you saw the gentleman bring us our drink. We are El Vecino, a cigar lounge here in the heart of downtown Miami. Come check them out. If you see the description, the links, wherever, they're going to put the links here. Great place to come. Professionals, entrepreneurs, you want to come, have a cigar with your client, or just want to wind down after a hard week, this is the place to be. Would you say so, guys?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, Gabe, when it comes to honor about profit, don't want to talk much about your business. I do. But overall, as one of the founders of GJ, how does that Iron Sharpens Iron? What have you seen over the years, how that has displayed here with the group, with the men in this group?
It was a pillar. It was a pillar from the very beginning. It was something that we started with friends. And we looked at each one of us as someone that puts their head on their pillow at night and feels good about it.
Right.
It's just natural.
Yeah.
So I don't think much about honor above profit. It's who I am. It's who we are.
Hey, you live that.
We live it. So it's not something that you have to sharpen when it becomes natural to you. It's just the right way of doing things. I'm fortunate enough to be involved with really my best friends, and that network of friends has just broadened.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because we're not all experts in every field.
Nope.
So to be able
And we
to
got to be
lean-
humble with that, right?
Listen, it's great.
No egos.
I have my home because of the Gentleman's Journal. Every little facet of that came from the journal. I don't know anything about titles. I don't know anything about real estate. I don't know anything about pools. And all those guys came out and went to my house and said, "This is you want to live here. This is good." So that type of transaction, that's a life event, right? And it was seamless. It was seamless because I felt like I had the confidence of not just, this is the right thing to do, but I had all the brothers behind me to solidify that type of decision.
And go ahead. You want to add something to it?
Yeah, just there's something that when you spoke about one of the pillars, right, Gabe, that when you first started looking at Gentleman's Journal and how to create something here in Miami, that how do we grow this? How do we find other gentlemen of similar interests, like-minded? Absolutely. And when we talk about it and we say it's one of our pillars and we say honor above profit, another one is this idea of be your brother's keeper. Another one is this idea of family first, business second. We're talking today about life, religion, right, business, and it's one of the things that I always come back to is the message is pure, right? The tenets are pure.
Yeah.
This is what, when we look at gentlemen, this is what, if it's in their heart, if they believe it, it comes across. And so strangers suddenly become friendly because we connect.
And it shows when you go to the meetings,
Absolutely
right?
shows, and that's the beauty of it, that the message is pure. People can be messy. And there are a lot of messy
We're a
people.
mess. We're a
right,
mess.
we're all a mess. But as long as we can keep falling back on these pillars, that's what makes, the people that I surround myself with make me better. And that's how, my iron is sharpened, right? Iron sharpens iron. That's what we're talking about.
And it's funny you say that because constantly when I'm meeting with different men in the group, regardless of where they're at, they're always saying, you know what? Business here happens organically. And some of the best business happens within this group. And it's not because they're out there finding it like other organizations. They just push, okay, you got to connect. And it's not genuine at all. Here, you actually build that good friendship. It turns into partnerships. It turns into successful business. We see there's some folks here in this room right now that have very successful ventures, and it all sprung out of this. And I know there's more to come from that. If I were to say, hey, if there's a young blood coming in, young entrepreneur, trying to, make their way in, what would you tell those individuals?
Do you want to answer that?
Will, Gabe, whoever wants to
I would
jump
tell
in
them
first.
to take a shot. We've got some young guys in the group that once they come to a gathering, they realize that this was something that was missing. And especially if you're younger. I mean, we got a young man that's in Tampa is making meetings for Pinecrest. And
Look at
that young man,
no excuse out there.
To see him flourish and to see the stick-to-itiveness and the ability to ask questions, to not be afraid to ask questions. I think a lot of times as men, we internalize and we're afraid that maybe we don't know the answer to it. I mean, we have a hard time asking for directions. So to have a young guy to be,
that says a lot.
Yeah,
You don't see
then
that.
and then to make the trip, because he started here in Pinecrest, and now he decided to venture off to Tampa.
might
But
take
there
him
was something so worthy and so authentic that he makes a trip.
Well, your feedback.
Yeah, I think that coming in and having that attitude of wanting to learn, right, is so important, especially in coming to a group like this. And that's not really just for young men. That could be a guy of any age. We've got guys that are in their 20s, we've got guys that are in their 60s, and maybe even a couple beyond that are still coming to be able to share, and we can all learn something every week. I think one of the biggest things for when you're coming in and just getting started, and this could be true for any group, is if somebody does take the time to sit down and share with you their experience, their perspective, it may or may not be the right fit for you, or you might not be able to use it, but you appreciate it. And whatever you can take away from that,
Right.
when you go and show that you actually tried to put it into practice, like there's nothing more gratiating than knowing that your input was actually put into to use. And so even if you feel like you don't have anything to give, I don't have anything to offer, sometimes it is just that, just taking what you've heard and putting it into practice.
Using that wisdom,
can be,
learning.
Yeah, can be one of the greatest gifts.
And I'll lean on you, George. You know, there's a lot of guys that see you and Onelli, and they're like, hey, this is the wisdom coming in, right? I think when we go to the retreats, we're like, oh, there's Onelli.
We're wise guys. There's not a lot of wisdom.
The wise guys coming in.
They also bring the most booze to the retreat.
Yeah, they do.
That too.
These
That's
guys
you know,
compacting.
we
They're
met.
all-
How they fit that in that tiny Miata?
I don't know.
It's a mini. It's a
I don't
mini.
know. You guys
It's a
walk around with your own
mini.
liquor license. I don't. It's insane. You got to see it if you've never seen it eye to eye. But how does that make you feel when there's guys, myself, the other guys here in the room, and other groups, they come and look at you for advice in that sense? How does that make you feel?
You know,
Almost like you're students in a way.
Right, yeah, but you know, it's funny because someone asked me the other day, and I'm like, my simple answer is, I'm a student. You know, like I come into this room and you know, I sometimes feel like the one that has no clue or concept. You know, and this goes back to Gabe, what you were saying, that it's like there is this, I don't want to say stigma, but as a guy, you're supposed to know, right?
Know it all.
I know it all. I got it. Psst, hey, no problem. I got it. You know, but the reality is that there's more stuff that I don't know, and every time, you know, starting a business venture with my partner, I'm scared out of my mind, you know, but I have a group behind me that supports me,
right.
and it becomes a
It's a
soft
backbone.
Yeah, it's a soft place to land. You know, when I have all the anxiety and all the questions, all the stuff, all the doubts, I can have someone else that's like, I've been there, I know this, and you're going to be okay.
And that's the beautiful part about, you know, Gentleman's Journal is seeing all these walks of life, right? There's a lot of folks like, hey, I'm sure you've been in my shoes. I've never been in your shoes. And what I can learn from you, right? You know, how to be, again, I said it at the top, how to be a better brother, husband, just business owner. There's a lot of mistakes, right? And you know, sometimes there's some guys, if you go to our groups, you'll hear some crazy stories of like, hey, I made a mistake in my business. It derailed me. But we're here to pick each other back up. It's not like, well, that's on you, bro.
Yeah, it's not always fluffy.
Yeah, it's not.
No.
And it's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be, because
And that's life and business, right?
yeah, and life is messy. Life is messy. So we're going to run into all the crap. We're here in Miami. We got plenty of shady stuff down here that we all deal with. But, you know, again, I get to go to a group amongst other gentlemen that I consider to be equals.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are certain times that I can contribute, but as much as I give, I actually can take away too.
No, absolutely. And I think in those moments is where we shine. I think we shine regardless, right? We have a good looking group right here, but we're always shining, right? But I think when our guys come up and they share some like defeated stuff that's happening personally, whether it be through a divorce or, you know, divorce is what it is, but it's at the end of the day, it's messy, right? Partnership, you got screwed by somebody else. There's a loss. Like, what do you guys take out of that when you guys go into a room and you're hearing that, right? And your feedback to those guys.
The feedback to the guys.
Is the feedback to the guys when they're going through some hardship?
Okay, Michael, I'm trying to understand the question.
Yeah.
Trust. It comes down to trust. It comes down to really just being open. And I think that we all go into meetings sometimes and maybe we don't even feel like showing up.
Oh, that's a lot of that.
But
I'm
then
sure.
you leave and you're always grateful
on
that
fire.
you went, you know? And that's the thing. I think us as men, as fathers, as businessmen, we can be as motivated as we want, but it's not about that. It's about discipline. It's about getting up and knowing what your priorities are. Every time I leave a meeting, I'm better off, man. I'm just better off. You know, I got to hear 23 other brothers in the room express themselves authentically, and sometimes it's not pretty. And it's good to know that my brother made a mistake, and now I need to be wary of what that is so that it becomes part of my toolbox whenever I'm in a negotiation or whenever I'm dealing something with my son, or maybe it's marital with my wife. You know, the fact that my wife has tolerated me for 20 years, that's a gold. That's gold.
Yeah.
You know, and it came from me, you know,
Give her a
saying, you know
trophy.
what? I sometimes I don't need to say anything. Just listen.
Yeah.
Be quiet. I don't have to answer. So I'm grateful to the men in this room to make me a better father, just better overall man.
And I'll hand it over to Dukes, but I always say it in the groups, especially in my group at HML, is like, man, there's a lot of us here that come in, we're killing it in the business. We're doing amazing, breaking records. But if our home's in shambles, like, what are we really doing? Right? Are we really killing it? You know, and that kind of leads into that. And that's where we have to come in and step up, right? And keep our brothers accountable. And that's true. We keep our brothers accountable. There's no ifs or buts about it, right? Like, we if we have to put you in check, we'll put you in check, right? I think you guys would agree. Well, anything you want to add to that?
You know, this is not just, we're talking a lot about our groups, right? And the reality is there's other places that guys can go and maybe kind of get some of these things. And I think a lot of, especially young guys, you know, maybe listening to podcasts like this, or, you know, have something else that they turn to kind of get this advice. But there's still no substitution for having somebody face to face, like having that real relationship where somebody comes in and talks about, yeah, I got screwed over by my partner, or, you know, my marriage fell apart, or whatever that trial is in life, to then be able to say, hey, I'm going to be here to support you, but I also want to learn. Like, what happened?
Lifelong learning.
And like I say, you know, can I avoid some of those mistakes or some of those situations? And sometimes it wasn't any kind of bad decision or thing that we did. Sometimes it's just circumstance. But how do I know what to look out for? And there's no lack of information today, right? Like, we have the whole of human experience in our pockets at any time.
Absolutely.
But that's all one way, right? And at least for now, you know, like, you can ask ChatGPT all you want, and it may give you some information, but there's still not going to be
but it's not that real emotion behind it that you need.
It's just information.
Gabe, you want to say something?
Well, I just want to piggyback on that. I think that our most valuable resource is time. And when you have somebody that's genuinely giving you their time, then shut up and listen.
Yeah.
You know?
And you deal with individuals that are, time is coming up.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we do a lot of end of life care. You know, that's what I've been. You know, I've dedicated myself to older adults for 23 years, man. In October, and so I've seen a lot of people at that phase in their life where it's the end of the end of time is near, and you don't want regrets.
Right.
That's the last thing you want, man, is to have regrets. So don't work too much. Make sure you keep in touch with your friends. Make sure that you live to the best of your ability. I feel that when you find that core group, stick to it, because it allows you to be the best version of yourself.
You're growing, right? You're always growing.
Man.
You're always learning from different things.
We shed skin, man. We shed
100%.
skin. And what made us upset a year ago no longer phases us.
And we can't be petty.
No,
can't be petty.
There's no room for that.
There's no room for that. You know, I think it will just bring you down. It's like an anchor, right? It will just keep holding you down. And I think that's why it's important, right? That if you're striving in your business, you should be also be striving in your personal life. So amazing answer, amazing responses. And like you mentioned, we're talking today about life, business, and religion, right? Taboo. Oh my God, religion. But I think it's a very important topic to discuss, because you know what? A lot of individuals, whether it be in our Germans group or in life itself, use religion as kind of like a foundation, as a base, right? Hey, if I'm rooted in my spiritual beliefs, I know my personal pillar, my business pillar, it's going to be good. I know you mentioned you're spiritual, not religious. Yeah. What does that mean? I don't know. We're going to find out soon. I know you have a lot of experience in this side, regarding from a religious standpoint, right? Gabe, since you do have the mic, I want to hear your perspective on that. How does religion play a role in your life?
Religion has evolved for me throughout the years. I come from two immigrant parents that worked very hard and decided to put me in Catholic school. So I was in Catholic school from kindergarten all the way to 8th
What
grade.
Catholic school? Up in Jersey,
St. Stephen's.
St. Stephen's. Shout out to St. Stephen's.
Yeah,
if it's still there.
And then seventh grade and 8th grade was St. Mary's. I still have my best friends from those times. I had to evolve from that. And it's funny because I went out to lunch today with Jules, one of our brothers in GJ Miami. We got to kind of kick it and talk a little bit, which was fun. And my parents wanted to put me in high school with an all-boys Catholic school.
Okay.
And
continuing that,
I wasn't having it, man. I rebelled. I said, I'm not going to go. What do you mean there's no girls there?
What's going on? That's weird.
And that's true. And I ended up going to Perth Amboy High and played football. And I did not know anyone else of another sector. So the linemen, a couple of them were Muslim, you know, they were Baptist. They were Jewish. We had Jewish football players. Yeah.
Talk about a diverse line
Jewish
right
football
there.
players. Great guys. And you know what it's like to be part of a team. You get immersed in that team, and those are your brothers. You guys are going to war in the mud and in the rain. And it exposed me to other religions. And it opened me up tremendously. I was going to Baptist church, and the Baptist preacher talking to me in a way that my Catholic priest would never talk to me.
No, two different things.
He would never talk to me that
Yo.
way. And he said, "Boy, you protecting yourself? You a good looking guy. All those girls in high school must be." And I was like, "Yo, that's your pastor? Oh, he's really cool, you know." Or to go to temple, or to understand what Hinduism is.
You weren't hearing that from Father Timmy.
I wasn't hearing that from Father Bob. All I knew is that Father Bob, every time he was around, his pipe smelled real good. What was in his pipe? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah. And so I think that experience opened me up to, I'm not my religion. You
Okay.
know, I'm a man first.
yeah.
You know,
It's not your identity, in other words.
it wasn't my identity, I guess is better said. You know, it did not define me. As the years went by, and in this past, 23 years, to talk to different people from different walks of life and to be able to serve them regardless of their culture or not, is to be sensible to that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
George, when we got into the topic of religion, you handed that mic over like you were at the Maury Povich show, like, "That's not my baby," and you send it over there.
I am not the father.
You're not the father. So, speaking of which, Father Bobby, what was it, Timmy over there?
His name is Father Bob.
Father
You guys are
Bob.
giving me a lot
Father
of heat
Bob.
over Father Bob offline.
Staying on topic, wanted to go back to you because you say that you're not religious, you're spiritual.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, that kind of, how does that happen?
That's a nice, good BS answer, isn't it?
Yeah,
I like
a little
it. I
bit.
like
So
it. I like it.
explain to me what's going on.
So, look, when I think of religion, like, if someone asks me, I'm a recovering Catholic, right?
Okay.
And
Not from St. Stephen's over here.
not from St. Stephen's. No, I had a different one. His pipe didn't smell as good. But for a long time.
Hope you're still alive, Father Bob.
But we wish him nothing but the best. But really, for me, when I think of religion, I can't get behind like a particular, like whether it's a Baptist, it's Muslim, it's Jewish,
yeah,
right?
Muslim,
It's to me, that's hubris. That is the epitome of human hubris. I spent first part of my life, like I said, I was a chem teacher, right? So I look at the vastness of our universe, like the big picture of everything.
Okay.
And I'm like, I can't believe that this is it, right? Like this.
There's got to be something more.
Something bigger than us. I think that us is like, two-legged humans. We're great, we're wonderful, but there's a bigger picture. So
it can't end with us. That's
right,
it.
and I can't get behind, like if you don't believe my doctrine or my dogma, then you're going to this bad place or that bad place. So when I say I'm spiritual, my understanding is that I'm like, look, I know at the end of the day I'm energy. When I die, my energy is going to go somewhere. Where that is, how that looks, how it's going to, I have no idea, and I'm not going to have the hubris to say that I know better than you.
So you say, at least that's like because a lot of folks see religion, spirituality as their moral compass, right? How do they live their day-to-day life? How am I a good person, a good steward?
Yeah.
In anybody's life, right?
Absolutely.
Is that kind of like your...
I think, look, if you ask me, like, what's my moral compass, it's simple. Don't be a dick, right? Like, I mean, like, that's
breaking news.
That's the bottom line. Like, I like the idea of the golden rule. I think that, if you look at the teachings of Jesus, he said a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah.
As did Buddha, as did Moses, as did Muhammad, right? So I always go back to what's the message, and if the message resonates, same thing as like our tenets. If they resonate, then follow that.
And that has always been kind of like your life model in that sense, in that particular topic, or is it something that kind of deviated that?
For me, like my personal, like my real big revelation was, so at 31, I got married when I was 27, right?
Yep.
And
Good age.
Yeah, right. And, my wife and I at the time, we started planning our whole life. At 31, I became a widow, right? If you would have asked me I would have told you back then that I was weaving the tapestry of my life, and this was my partner. We had a baby on the way, like this is what
Life is good.
life was doing a certain way. And it was so sudden and quick and senseless, for lack of a better word, that in the midst of my pain, when I couldn't see my next breath, like it was literally, my focus was, that was a good breath, do that again. The world kept spinning.
It didn't stop.
It didn't stop.
Show must go on.
Everyone else was going on with their lives. Right now, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people on this planet that are experiencing extreme pain.
Yep.
And the world keeps spinning. So I can't sit there and attest to this is the higher power, this is the person or the entity that guides my life. But what I can say is the only thing I can control is this moment right now. So in this moment, who can I be?
Gabe, you want to jump in there? And I know, and that's
that-
tragic, right? Because that's something that, like, hey, look, life is supposed. We all have this in our mind. Life is supposed to be, hey, get married, have kids, die, they bury us, and then sometimes life, going back to the beginning of the hour, right, or whenever we started this, life could also have that tragic moments. And
One day to the next.
so, Gabe, go ahead.
Meanwhile, work your ass while you're doing all of that.
Right.
So-
And don't stop.
You said some very pivotal things. I think that God is everywhere. God,
Yep.
the more you are in your present moment, okay, the more you realize that you're at a red light and there's a little bird having a bird bath on a little puddle of dirty water. And he's having the time of his life. He doesn't know he's in a little dirty puddle of water at a red light.
Mm-hmm.
That's God. God is in the sunrise. God is in my firstborn child and my wife delivering the greatest blessing that I ever had. That's God. And the more we're able to separate ourselves from the dogma, we realize that we are only as good as our memories and our present moment.
Right.
And that's how I define religion.
No.
It's there. I don't have those banisters and those rails that I had growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
I realized
the
that
ritual
there's something greater, there's something bigger, and we're all part of it.
Yeah, I definitely believe there's always something bigger. Look, me as myself, who are, I would say, devoted Christian in that regard. It's an interesting conversation, right? Because at the end of the day, people just want to do good, right? People don't want to be a dickhead, like you mentioned, or mean, or whatever. People honestly want to do good, and it's those people that are probably not as genuine as possible. You try to kind of like, hey, I don't need you in part of my life. There's nothing important. But there's also life tragedies. They kind of also steer us a different way, right? And Will, I'll lead up to you. What do you think of what has been said so far?
Well, I can say a lot of things about it.
I know you're gonna say a
they're
lot,
be-
I know.
we could have a whole nother podcast.
I
just
saw your
talking about
mustache
this.
twinkling a little bit.
It was, and you get to have a cortadito and a cigar. All these other things point to my Menorcan heritage more so than just his mustache, and the fact that the Menorcan Islands off of Spain.
Come on now.
Comes out of that. Yeah, we learn things about each other, right? And the fact that I can't be anywhere on time. My wife will tell you that. Like all points to that. Regardless,
It happens. You can't win them all, Will.
so I grew up, not with Father Bob or Father Timmy. Like I grew up in a Baptist church, and so like, fairly hardcore fundamentalist Christian, and that certainly evolved. And I would say that it's actually gotten deeper as I've gotten older and learned it. And I can sit here and we could have an apologetics discussion, and I can tell you all the reasons and the factual and the logical reasons why I continue to believe what I do. But I also try to understand like how does that fit into an organization? How does that fit into just my general life, interacting with everybody that's coming from different walks of life
Different
and having
people you
different
interact with.
experiences and all those things. And I think the fundamental thing is I can have what I believe, and I believe I'm called to be able to give a reason for why that is at any time. But at the end of the day, it for me, it comes down to love God, love other people, right? And there's, even within the Christian faith, there's a whole lot of disparate beliefs about how that actually is lived out. for me, I say that there's a fundamental question that we all have to wrestle with. And if you boil it all down to the core, it's, do you believe things happen by chance, or do you think that things happen by design? Right? Is there something else behind all this? And like, if you boil it all down to that, you come to one of those two conclusions. And then from that conclusion, then you have to decide how you're going to live your life. Like, I have a lot of respect for people that are self-described nihilists and like don't believe there's anything beyond. And yeah, we are just like all this great cosmic accident. And that's fine. I can have a lot of respect and learn things from those people. But for me, it's much bigger than that. Like, there is something else. And I think one of the reasons that a lot of times we get disenfranchised or disheartened with the things that happen in our life is that we somehow still believe that like the universe is here for us. And I just don't believe that. Like, we're a part of this bigger story, this bigger thing, a telos of the universe and where things are going. And we all have a part to play in that. And so I look at my life, and I'm here and put here for a reason. And I have my path to pursue. And at the end of the day, it's my job to be descriptive in the way that I live, and the choices that I make, and the decisions that I make.
And show love, right? And show love and compassion and grace and gratitude.
Not so much be prescriptive, right? Like, I'm not telling other people how to live. I hope that through the example of my life that people may want to ask,
your actions,
like, why do you believe? Why do you have the faith that you do? And so, I keep these reminders. Like, I actually got these tattoos. You can't see them on camera, but yeah. So,
so for those that can't see, you have a cross, I believe, on that side.
It's a cross on the right wrist, and it looks kind of morbid, right? It's just a skull on the left the wrist, and but it's actually an ancient memento mori symbol, and so that just translates to remember that you too are going to die. So we all are finite. Like, we all have a limited amount of time, and that's why I keep it on my left wrist under my watch too, right?
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, yeah, please.
How do you instill that in your children?
Hopefully through example, right? And that was also one of the reasons. So I got these just a couple years ago. My kids were coming up, and so it's like that constant reminder, right? And so we're religious. Like, we go to church most Sundays. Okay. Like, we're praying in the house.
It's in the house.
Kids may go in.
So
like,
they're seeing it. They're
and
they pick up on it. They pick up on it real quick.
And so that's that's the example that we're trying to set, but not that any of these religious practices, right? Any of these rituals and those things, like, they're relevant in our life, but that's not it. Like, it's a bigger thing.
And I think that's what happens with religion sometimes. It's just it becomes more of a ritual, and like, hey, you did this, you did that, and it's like, hey, why are you not following a certain path? And I think that's what kind of discerns people from practicing.
Well, look, I mean, there's value in ritual. Like, even in GJ, like, we have rituals. Like, we have certain things, certain core beliefs that we ascribe ourselves to. But it still ultimately comes down to how are you going to live. But that can't
be the all and all be all of everything.
Right. It's a symbol. It's a placeholder. It's a thing that keeps you on the right path and kind of reminds you, because there's just so much shit that happens in life on a day-to-day basis that can run you off the rails. Right. And so, those things are useful tools, but they aren't life itself.
George, you have a comment?
Yeah. So, so how do you have, three of us have known each other for a long time. There's a lot of respect. If there's someone that I need to ask questions to, I know I can go to Will. I know I can go to Gabe. Right. For me, the way I wrap my brain around it is, I'll put my professor hat on here for a second.
Okay.
Let me be a science teacher for a minute.
18 time.
There you go. But for me, it's this idea of, it's like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right? So in a nutshell, that opens the door to this idea of multiple possibilities all existing at the same time, right? And something that I used to share in my classroom with my students was the problem with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle is, the idea is that you can know the position of a particle, you can know the speed of the particle, but you can't know both at the same time, right? The act of observation collapses one of the possibilities. If you observe it here, you lose its speed. If you know its speed, you don't know where it is. So the idea that I always would pose is, again, hubris. I don't know what I don't know, right? But at the end of the day, the three of us idiots got here. And we're all talking, and you're here, right?
Yeah,
right?
you just dropped some knowledge here.
But the three of us all decided to be here, right? And every person that's seeing this is observing this, right?
Absolutely.
So the real question always that I would ask is, who is the observer? What is the observer? What is that said the three of us are supposed to be here right now? That, Will's got a black shirt on, and he's got a white shirt on, right? No one had to sit there and tell us otherwise. We just all automatically agreed prior to. And so,
that is true. That is true.
But at the end of the day, like, if there is a divinity to me, it would be that idea of, what is the observer? What is that which says this is a reality that we all agreed to play in? And as long as I can play from that space, then I can accept the rituals that Will speaks about and go, cool.
And what you're saying is also feeds a lot to like how great our group is, in the sense of like we have 3 walks of life, 3 different pretty much belief systems in a way. We heard it, he just here, and we could still coexist, right? We could still come together and like, hey, agree to disagree or whatever the case may be, but there's no like, hey, you're wrong, I'm right. And I think that's
that's the key thing, right? Because regardless of what may actually be true, and we may all find out at some point, right? Sooner or later.
Right?
Like, we're all here right now,
Yeah.
to George's point, right? And like the realities that we face are real for us, and we can all learn something from each other. And so it doesn't really matter fundamentally what you believe. That's going to shape how you interact in that. But everybody else is living out their own reality, and they're coming from their own perspective. And that's the only thing that you can do. Like, I try to remind people this of all the time is, if you were sitting in somebody else's shoes and you lived the same experiences that they lived, you would probably make the same decisions that they made.
Absolutely.
And that's universal. That's universal of any religion. Because any religion, when you get fundamentally down to it, there's this common core of empathy.
And the greater good.
Yeah, of see my brother, see myself in them.
Excellent point. And this is something that we could, and not
We
to
could go on for this
we
for a
could
while.
go
I'm
on
going to
for
make this
a while.
very
And
short.
This is one of the cool things.
I'm in a lot of
about
people's.
our
I'm in a lot of people's homes.
Yeah, go ahead, real quick.
I'm in a
5
lot of
seconds.
people's homes. Okay, seeing them in their most vulnerable state. Religion plays no part, man. It's family. It's love. It's empathy. It's sticking together. It's how do we make this moment matter. We have more in common than we don't. There's more good in the world than there is not. You're not going to get that on your phone. You're not going to get that on the news.
It's not on TikTok.
It's not sensational. But yet, behind the scenes, behind that picket fence, behind that door, in that little house, there's thousands of kisses that go unnoticed.
Yeah.
A tumor can kill you, or a tumor can wake you up and make you live your best life. We need to pump the brakes and realize that it's not all about work. It's not about that next moment. The best moment is
Things
the
could
moment that
change
we're
like
living
this.
right now.
Yeah.
You know?
So appreciate that. And again, it's a topic that we could go on forever and ever. And that's the great thing about GJ. So wanted to kind of change gears here. And thank you so much for diving into that. That is another heavy topic that is not as easy. And the way you guys were able to kind of display your responses, I think I really appreciate that. And hopefully everyone watching can see that. So right now we're going to change it up, lighten up the mood a little bit, right? We're going to go ahead and do some.
God, I know. Now we're gonna do politics.
Now we're going to do politics.
Yeah.
And the topic is important. No, it's not.
How about that
It's
big,
not that.
beautiful
That's probably going to be episode 5. Politics, episode 5. Stay tuned. But no, we're going to lighten it up a bit. We do have a great audience. Audience, say hello. Say hi. All right, I was just making sure they're still alive and they're not passed out. But they're here. So they have some questions, rapid fire. So these questions I have not seen because they just literally just submitted it right now. So is there anyone's story that you remember from all your years of GJ that made such an impact that changed the way you did something? And anybody can answer this. It wasn't directed to anybody. I'll repeat it. Is there any story that you remember from all your years
I'll be
of DJ?
quick. This is super quick.
We've
got an older
about to
gentleman
get
in
kicked
our
out,
group.
so it's
He's
gotta be less than a minute.
all right. So we got an older gentleman in our group. He's happily married. He is someone that we all look to. He's super wise, and he said, Monday through Friday, I give my wife her coffee in a specific cup. Saturday and Sunday, I change the cup. And I took that to heart, man. My wife is a workaholic. She works day and night. And I decided to start doing that. So Monday through Friday, I would give her cup. It was a Tinkerbell, pixie dust and some bullshit. But on Saturday and Sunday, I decided to give her a coffee in a Wonder Woman cup. I wanted to separate Friday from Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
And it's something so small, but it made a big difference that she noticed. And it just kind of moved the barometer a little bit when it came to the weekend. Weekend's not about work.
No, it's not. We got to know how to turn it off.
I got it
We gotta be present.
real quick as well. There's a gentleman in an organization, successful lawyer. A lot of the things that he's accomplished professionally would be things that I would aspire to.
Okay.
And he stood up one time and he said he had a regret. And it was while his children were growing up, he was busy working. And he missed a lot of that time. And I have my two boys are 11 and 13 right now. I heard this message like 3 years ago, and that was such a huge wake-up call to be in the moment right now with them, because this is my only chance to be with my kids at this stage.
And that's huge, because you hear it a lot. I hear it from my own clients. They're like, hey, I'm working. I'm like, yo, sometimes you got to pump the brakes, because next thing you know, you look back, they're 6. You look back, now they're 13. You look back, now they don't even want to hang out with you. Right? And time goes by so quick. I mean, I have 2 little girls. Bless me, I don't know what's going to happen. But 2 little girls, and I'm looking at them, and I see them growing. I'm like, whoa, slow down. Slow down a bit.
And it's not about slowing down. It's not, I want them to grow up. I can't wait for the next stage.
Yeah, but not tomorrow.
Well, even if it's, listen, I can't wait for tomorrow, but I just got to be present for today. Exactly. Today, because today is my only today. And tomorrow is going to be different. It's going to bring its own stuff.
Let's go.
Gabe, this is a question for you. Well, Duke, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one of the most impactful things for me actually wasn't in a meeting, wasn't something I heard. It was the fact that we have these relationships, and sometimes you go after a meeting and you sit down. And I remember one of the guys in this room and another one. I mentioned I'd been married for 22 years, but it's not like it's all been sunshine and rainbows. And there were a couple of points where it could have gone a different way. And one of the things was sitting, having sushi afterwards and just being able to unpack some of the frustration that I was going through. And then one of the other things has come through a couple of little different points that has been around it. And unfortunately, some other guys have been in situations that have gone the other way.
Right.
And there's been this common theme that has often come up. And I've respected this amongst our men, that they put it to their wives. It's like, hey, we can go a different way, or we need to make a choice. Are you willing to at least be willing to continue this on? And some of them have decided no, but I took from that, and I was at that point, and I can be very grateful and thankful that my wife said that she was at least willing to keep on and working through it.
That's
and
right.
so we've been together 22 years. And
all right,
that
22. That's a huge feat.
It took
Let's go to
courage
the next
for you
question.
to ask that question.
All right, with you, Dukes. Quick question: how long did it take you to do that mustache? The over under is 30 minutes. So what is it?
No, a little bit longer. I tell everybody all the time.
little
All I
bit
did.
longer. Oh, geez.
It's a 4-hour beauty routine.
Oh, wait.
takes
So
longer, the
just
hair
to
or the
style the mustache. Okay. I thought you were talking about grow the mustache. So the mustache happened during COVID. I say this is my vaccine injury, but I kept the mustache. I had a mustache before, but my wife would remind me when it was time to trim it because it was tickling her lips or whatever. And during COVID, we weren't really going anywhere.
All right.
So how long does it take? How
Hold
long
on,
does
no,
it take?
So it took about 6 months to really get a curl, but it only takes me about 3 minutes. I keep
3
bees.
minutes. I don't believe it.
I keep bees at my house, so I have the wax. It's a
there
good
you
quality
go.
wax.
Organic wax.
And it only just put a little wax,
All
comb,
right, next
done.
question.
That's the mustache envy amongst
We did not practice this.
No, it's just a question.
Dukes, I love your mustache.
Yeah, it's
It
a
loves you
staple
too,
at this
Bubba.
point. It's a
It
staple.
loves you too.
It looks weird if you didn't have it. I think this is a question more for you, Gabe.
beeswax.
How do you see the future of GJ? What does growth look like? What chapters are growing, new starting, or coming soon? For those that are, obviously listening and they want to join in to the great organization.
I think the most beautiful thing about GJ is that it's been organic. We've never been in this to make money. This is not something that we're like, we want X amount of tribes or chapters. That's not what we were looking for.
Right.
All right. We want guys that are looking for honesty, to be authentic, to live their best life with their family, to be good businessmen, to be involved in the community. The fact that this has spiraled and become something so beautiful, and you mentioned this earlier about the tapestry of your life. Yeah. And this is a tapestry of men, with men from all walks of life. So our future is bright. Like, this is something, as Tremblay said, we are going to share. And there's men that are going to tune into this podcast and say, I want a little bit of this.
Yeah. What's going on over there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the fact that there's something brewing in Alpharetta, Georgia, in Tampa and Orlando, in North Carolina and Coral Springs, is beautiful. And it's not forced. If this is something that resonates within you, man, pick up the phone, send a message, do something regarding this
links
link
below.
Operators are standing by.
the links below. And we're not there yet with the operators, but somebody from the organization is going to.
Operators are so 1900s.
Yeah, they're going to reach out to you and be like, all right, so this is something you want to do. Coral Springs is launching September 5th.
Let's go.
Let's go. And
I always say this. I always say this with people that are like, interested in joining. It's like, look, you don't say, hey, I want to join GJ. You get asked to join GJ.
Yeah, and I think that's
you get asked to join GJ.
Yeah,
we see something in those individuals like, hey, you hit these things that makes you want to come in, because this is sacred. This is
someone's going to ask you to join. The fact that you can reach out to us and hit the link below, someone's going to reach out to you. We're going to have coffee. Maybe we'll have a beer, and we're just going to kind of see where you're at.
That's it. Connect.
And if these sensibilities match you, and we feel that you'd be an asset to this organization, absolutely, we want you to be part of it.
Absolutely. Other question: who are your heroes, whether growing up or now? Oof. We got 5 minutes.
I mean, my mom's 94 years old, man. She's my hero. But if I go to my childhood, I can think of things when it comes to like Bruce Lee, and the discipline.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's my dog. To this day, I chat GPT Bruce whenever I have a question, and it's almost like he's really there. It's weird.
Brick don't hit back, right?
Yeah. No, my dad getting up every morning, going to work, or if somebody was sick in the family, it didn't matter. It was 3:00 in the morning. It was time to take your medicine, and it's kind of like, I'm doing that now with my kids. I realized that my foundation is coming into fruition because of what happened to me when I was a child, because of what I saw, the example of my parents, So, yeah, I can come up with all kinds of heroes, but at the end of the day, my foundation was laid, was nice.
And each one played a pivotal role.
And everyone played a pivotal role.
I think I'll do the typical Miami story,
Scarface?
Short, close. We didn't have the nice house with the big high fence. Minus the cocaine, right? But you get my mom pissed. Let me tell you, that chancleta flew. So
the almighty chancleta.
Exactly, the almighty chancleta. Cuban immigrants. First set of heroes are definitely my grandparents, because two successful careers coming over, starting from scratch. A barber and a secretary. Oh. And they worked their way up. That led to my mom and dad. That definitely instilled that work ethic in me. That there is no free lunch. We have to go out and grind. hard and grind, but at the same time, always from a place of honor. And I'm going to really give credit to my first wife, Beth. What I learned from her And my greatest, reason why she was a hero to me was she saw the good in everybody. And she taught me and maybe reinforced in me that I am not my worst moment. People aren't their worst moment. We all have a bad day. All have a bad day. There's a good in us, and how do we keep striving to be better? So that's something that to this day I try to instill in my boys. I try to instill in those around me that it's like, I am not my worst day. I'm not my worst moment. What am I up to and where am I going to?
Awesome. Will.
My hero is An Phan from Drew Estate Cigars for supplying these great cigars.
Drew Estate
and Legal
Cigars, go
Nevada
get 'em.
I had earlier. But
Fun.
beyond that, I could absolutely say my parents, all the examples they gave me, but also Doctor Who, because I grew up on a farm back in the 80s, and we didn't even have a tower antenna when I was very young. And so it was just PBS from the local station. And like 3 stations.
3 stations.
Pretty much, yeah. Like I literally
Yeah,
had to go
antenna
outside
mundo.
and turn the antenna to be able to get other stations. So I had PBS, and since we just had PBS, even though I was only 5 years old, after Sesame Street, it was
Mr.
Doctor
Rogers,
Who.
right?
Like beyond that, man, Doctor Who. Doctor Who was always resourceful. Doctor Who
Generation
could
gap.
evolve. You don't even. Man.
It's all right. It's all right.
We're on
So,
like the 17th
so
doctor at this
last question, rapid fire before we wrap it up. They want to know, it's blowing up. What was in Mr. Father Bobby's pipe?
Oh, man, that's not right.
Gabe.
Or is this a mystery unsolved?
I know that the nuns navigated towards it.
Okay, well, there you go.
It smelled like pine, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, it had a little pine to it. And even though you didn't find him, you knew he was there.
All right.
You know, it was like he was there.
Like the
He was
Holy
there.
Spirit.
And the nuns weren't.
All right. With that being said, thank you so much for the question. That is awesome. So before we wrap up, or actually as we wrap up, one thing we want to do as we continue these series is kind of end with the gentleman's wise words, right? You're going to get a moment, 30 seconds or less, of what is your motto? What is the thing that you kind of use in life when you're in business? We'll start, George. We'll start with you. Gabe, Will, wrap it with Will.
All right.
Motto, you want to look at the cam.
There you go. Simple. Don't be a dick. Go out and put more into the world than you take out, and treat others with dignity and respect. It's going to be returned to you.
Gabe.
Just leave it better than you found it. Leave it better than you found it. And be observant, be present. And it doesn't matter if you're paying a toll or you're in the middle of a crisis. You got to kind of be in that moment and just help navigate that situation. Whether it's a beautiful smile at the checkout line or you're dealing with an end of life decision. Just be present and be kind.
Bring us home, Will.
So I'm gonna maybe tie all these things together in business. So the name of our company is Feck and Fig. We rebranded like a year ago, and that's kind of an odd word, fecund. It's not in the vernacular anymore, but the actual definition is the capacity to produce an abundance of new growth. It's an old farming term. Grew up on a farm. It was related there. But what people don't really know, or I don't always put out there, super publicly, is part of that is inspired by a story from the Bible, since we were talking about religion. And Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, and he curses a fig tree.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day they come back, and the fig tree is dead. And the disciples are like, "What the hell, Jesus?" And the best scholarly interpretation of that I've heard is that the curse came because the fig tree gave the appearance of fruit, but when he went to go find it, there was none to be found.
No.
And so he cursed it. And the opposite there then of a barren fig tree would be a fecund fig tree. And there's an old Latin saying that's found in some state mottos, esse quam videre, which is to be rather than to seem. And so if I try to live anything, it is fundamentally that regardless of what things seem, to always be and be bearing fruit.
Awesome. Good story, man. Awesome. So with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for the gentlemen, George, Gabe, Will, for the crowd that is here.
Thank you, brother.
So keep in tune for more information how to join the Gentleman's Journal. There'll be information on the description below. You can link into that and get more information on that. This is going to be a several series coming down where hopefully you could join in and listen to the conversation. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining on this Iron Sharpens Iron podcast. Thank you for our beautiful host, Evicino. Thank you for our audience. No, our audience here who provided the rapid fire questions. So stay safe, be connected, and may the good Lord guide your every step. So thank you guys.
Let's go.
See ya.